Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to more BTS America's action. We are getting down to the wire right now. It is the last semi-final matchup before we make our way into the grand final. I'll cut to the bracket real quick. You can see it's going to be Digital Chaos going against Power of Friendship, the winner to face Archon in those finals and get that bigger chunk of the $10,000 prize pool. I accidentally just hit the intro again. Let's actually get into the draft. It's going to be myself, KotLGuy. I'm joined by the one and only Blaze. Blaze, welcome back, my friend. Are you hyped up and ready about Power of Friendship versus Digital Chaos, and what do you think we're going to be in store for?
A hell of a match, honestly. These two teams are incredible. Obviously, like when you think of the current state of NA Dota, you look at teams like Digital Chaos and Archon, as well as Power Friendship near the top echelons, kind of not necessarily nipping at the heels of EG. There's still a pretty wide gap there. It's as far as who's fighting for like the second best team in North America. Although, of course, the Shanghai major qualifiers are still probably the best tournament to decide that. We've gotten to see, as 6.86 progressed, just so many more variations of different NA metagames, and this one's even further beyond what we've been seeing throughout the entire tournament of the BTS series America's #3. We get to see no Venge in the phase 1. We get to see no Batrider. Instead, it's going to be the Faceless Void banned out in phase 1, as well as the Lone Druid, and from there we get to actually see Aoi 2000's Chen. So we're going to see a little bit of push and pull, a lot of ganking. It's going to be a very interesting series.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to be looking to kind of take it up a notch. Possible, you know, we already have seen the likes of Theme and Commit for a Pugna, let's say, if you want to really ramp it up a notch. But yeah, already kind of emphasizing a lot. Alacrity plus creeps is, of course, always great. But I'm curious to see which team is going to look to kind of take it more into the push game, because then you're kind of juggling around timers and when certain lineups peak, and you have to be able to read the game in the big picture. You don't want to be able to have a huge peak early on and bank a lot into that, and for something to fall short, like for example, if this Tusk is unable to be very effective and he's struggling around at level 2 at 7 minutes in, you could be in for a bit of trouble. But Power Friendship are going to be picking up the Dazzle now, so they get their access to support. It helps a lot with the tankiness for Death Prophet, one who typically needs to commit early for a phase or a Euls, tends to be a bit on the weaker side, so Dazzle makes up for that a lot. But look at the quick response here, Blaze. You get Witch Doctor, who's one of the best at kind of disrupting heavy flow and heavy pushes, and well, is also very good against a Chen, so maybe could be a deny pick. But Nature's Prophet as well, coming out from Power of Friendship, a very popular new one-position grab.
I'm really curious about the offlaner option for Bulba here, because the offlane pool has thinned considerably with a lot of the most recent bans here. In fact, like all of Power Friendship's bans considered at least potentially offlane bans. And then, of course, the most recent two from DC are most prominently found in the offlane. So, yeah, obviously, for the most part, DC are just trying to protect their Chen with those bans. The Enchantress stealing the creeps, or the Bounty Hunter roaming against the Chen in the jungle. It makes things quite frustrating. So I could definitely see where they were going with them, but it does start to thin out Bulba's pool, and they're going to prioritize him for the 4th pick, or they're going to be facing another offlane ban, which is going to make things more and more difficult. But
it's crazy, because normally they're like a team like similar to Freedom, where they put a lot of priority on their offlaner. I've seen them go for Bulba's like Enchantress as a first phase grab, but they have been putting it off, and I'm also very curious on what's going to be left for him. All of those bans targeted his way, so, and he's not one to play like an Earthshaker, let's say. What is there? A Baden? Do you go back to the Logan strat, something he pulled out during the summit? I'm very curious to see what it's going to be.
He did actually run the Earthshaker in their most recent series, but it didn't work out to their success. So they're actually just going to go for something that's a little bit simpler here. The Tide Hunter does have some limitations here, but overall, I think that is going to be a pretty strong hero just to build himself up. He's not going to be involved in the laning process. That's my biggest issue with the hero. When Tusk is snowballing and Nature's Prophet is TPing and Death Prophet is building up her core items, Tide Hunter is sitting there on the lane. He's very static, and he's going to take a long time to come online. And you want that first Ravage to be a really big one, but if Power Friendship can play around that and make his first Ravage maybe just a solo kill, then that's a huge period of time where the Tide is accomplishing very little. But still, in general, once they reach the mid game, this pick is going to do a lot. He won't have to go for Mechanism since Chen's going to pick that up, and it should enable a lot of teamfight potential for DC if Power Friendship give it to him, because right now, with heroes like Nature's Prophet and Ember Spirit, they could actually split with the map pretty well.
Yeah, I was going to make that same exact point. It's nice being able to kind of be alongside a Chen who can kind of take the reign of all the hefty sustain and allow Tidehunter to kind of build and itemize a bit differently, whether it be more greedy to blitz forward for something like the Blink Dagger or just, be able to be a bit more flexible nonetheless. But last two coming out is going to be the Ember Spirit grab from Power of Friendship, and the response from DC is going to be an AM here. Both teams, you look at them, and they have about the same as far as Lockdown has to offer. You have a Witch Doctor cast, that's okay. Invoker maybe now going to be forced to be pushed into an Orchid kind of a position, because outside of that, the options to be able to get the catch are a little scarce. There's something there, but it's not as nice as like a quick blink Hex or anything of that nature.
Now, there's a lot to talk about as far as rosters here in this particular matchup, assuming it doesn't change throughout the best of 3 series. But, of course, DC, with their recent removal of TC from the roster, getting Resolution into the mid lane, shifting Yawar over to the safe lane carry position. That's changed, obviously, a lot of how everything breaks down for them. And we're just pretty much who's going to get the farm and how they're going to move. But we look at Power of Friendship, and even more instability shows with the fact that they are running essentially 2 stand-ins. Slicks, although he is still technically on Stake Gaming as far as I know, has only played 9 games with Power of Friendship, and Ziz has actually only played 1 earlier today, which, he got an easy option. I consider Night Stalker one of the easier supports to play just because you know exactly what to do with the hero. Like, everybody who plays Night Stalker in pubs knows where to move and how to move. It's a 4-position Night Stalker, so that's pretty convenient. But now that he's on the Dazzle here, he's going to have to really work on his coordination with his teammates, and they need to know if he's got their back.
It is something to say for Power of Friendship that they've already made it so far with a roster that does seem to change up every time we watch them play a bit. It seems like 2 players usually always kind of swapped in a bit ever since Ush has departed from the team. It's always been a little off and on as far as what you're going to be expecting, but they've made it this far already, and Ziz, who's their latest new fresh face to kind of appear on the team, they are going to be coming off that one brief loss. Both teams actually coming from some losses here. Power of Friendship, who just had a match off against Team Archon in We Play, did drop their series, and then Digital Chaos fought in Captain's Draft against Alliance, and were absolutely hammered both those games. It looks like one was shut down in about 18 minutes time and one a little after 20. So it's been already a rough day or so for both these squads. They're looking to kind of walk away now with a win, and that much closer towards the $5,000 first place prize.
Absolutely, but we're going to have to fight through one another to get to it. And as far as who's going to be favored at different stages of the game here, early game, if Aoi gets some good spawns, I still see a lot of potential with them. We'll be seeing the early exhort from Resolution, and where he goes from there we'll have to see. I figure still going for the hard exhort though, because you need that damage against the Death Prophet. But let's say the Chen gets some good roaming opportunities, gets some good creep spawns. I'm confident that he can make some things happen on the mid lane and even on bottom, and cause some difficulties for Power Friendships in the early lanes. And then, of course, a hero like Invoker can snowball pretty heavily. A Witch Doctor can get involved even before level 6, but when he hits level 6, that's where he gets to do even more. So, in general, I'm looking forward to DC's early game, assuming Resolution doesn't just get snowballed on like 20 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Resolution Invoker, so the first thing you think of is that this is a signature grab for him, something he loves to show off. He's been playing this hero for a long time, but there are other factors to always consider now playing on Digital Chaos. Is there lag? Is there maybe a mild language barrier between them? I'm very curious about that and how much of an impact that could have in the game, but nonetheless, for the most part, they know he's going to bring his A game, and they're going to look to kind of work around that now, putting him in that trusted mid lane position. And then that means Yawar down here in the bottom lane has been shifted over, of course, to that one position, and back to his roots, since he was playing well for Root Gaming along with his younger brother. He was playing the one position there, and Sumail would be taking up the mid, so it's maybe something for him to be able to kind of get back into a position which might have been more comfortable.
Definitely. And I wouldn't say there's much as far as a language barrier that goes. Obviously not native tongue, but still not having much issue communicating. The issue would definitely be the ping. And of course, most heroes, mid heroes these days are pretty ping intensive, whether it's the Invoker or the Puck or what have you. You definitely have to be on point with your spellcast. But anyways, so far we've had a pretty good start for Owie. He's already gotten some good zoning and pressuring done on the mid lane with the Centaur. Summons up the Satyr to finish up this camp. And he's probably going to try to stack for the 2-minute spawn.
And we'll see how extra aggressive he looks to go outside of maybe just casually harassing with creeps a bit. We'll see if he makes a hard commitment to either lane. It looks like 2-minute rune's going to be popping up. First dibs will be Thieven here at the bottom. He'll gladly snack up a haste rune and quickly hustle towards that bottom lane. The top was a bounty, which was going to be taken from way 2. Second that Thieven shows up, Yawar makes a commitment in. They're going to get off the coconut here, but the Treants are far enough away that there will be no forgiving bounce, and MJW will be able to step back and eat a tango.
You have to keep in mind, though, it's like the Nature's Prophet is lacking 160 health, because that Sunstrike is definitely going to come through and find a resolution that's going to be pretty on point, and MJW doesn't have the luxury of just sitting next to his Treants the whole time. But as I mentioned, Owie did pick up that Satyr. He's already putting it to massive work. 3 shockwaves coming out. Slicks losing HP fast. He's gonna eat 1 more shockwave and then he's gonna pop his healing salve, and that just makes it really tough because he can't get involved in the lane whatsoever.
And I want to ask you, Blaze, a lot of players and other personalities have felt this Satyr creep is very, very good at the start. Do you think he's so good that they might need to consider a mild adjustment there?
As soon as the patch note came out, I read that and I said, this is the new Wild Wing Tornado. This is something that's just too much. And people were so focused on the hero changes, they didn't even like click the box for the neutrals. But I didn't even get to the hero changes before I was already like, okay, what's going on? This creep is insane. And over the next couple of weeks, everybody else kind of got on the same page with me. But no, Satyr is absolutely insane, and I expect. It's not like something that you have to hotfix in a B, C, D patch, but you definitely have to look into it when we hit 6.87.
It's a shame that he shares the same camp as the big mighty Satyr. Oh, hold that thought. Bottom lane, MJW does eat a coconut. A lot of right clicks. That Sunstrike will catch him, and that's going to be your first blood. It will be Digital Chaos who do strike first, and it's in the form of a Sunstrike coming out from Resolution.
Very nicely done here, and that's going to... I mean, Nature's Prophet gets right back to the lane, but it's going to be a nice boost for the Invoker since he's going pretty hard for the Hand of Midas, and of course wants to get levels as quickly as possible as well.
What I wanted to say, just a funny thing, I have a friend of mine named Magic who released a fun Chen video showing the potential of even the other baby Centaur creep with the Purge, and now it's reduced cooldown. You can get off multiple stacks of Purge, being at only a 3-second cooldown but a 5-second duration, and he was ganking mid laners relentlessly, and something hilarious that's always up the sleeve of a Chen. Haven't really seen it in competitive play, but of course sharing the camp with the big Satyr, you can't help but go for that. Look at this though, top lane, early tier 1 to drop right now. Glyph is going to be coming out, but the last hit looks to be for certain for Snake King, and the King will grab it.
Is under attack.
So already a good early push coming out from Power Friendship. This is going to give them a nice little start. Of course, they do have to commit the Nature's Prophet with it, but with a good 2 points of Shadow Wave, they clear out the next wave, and they are not stopping yet. Again, the Tidehunter is not really good in responding to these situations. He can certainly soak up some damage, and the Anchor Smash is good, but he can't actually pull them off the tower because he's not going to be going for Gush early. So they have to rotate in the Witch Doctor. Now they're going to try to do something, but Snaking is just keeping them off this tower, and it's going down very quick.
Yeah, and it's not like Anti-Mage is going to be rotating into fight. He's not any factor at all this early into the game, while as this Ember Spirit has got a couple of tools to work with to lead to some potential pickoffs here. They get huge work onto this bottom tier, or this top tier 2 already, bringing it down to about a third of its life. And it looks like at that point they'll finally step off and get back into some casual routine of farm. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together till now, but Ziz is playing the support. It's so different to see him in a outside position from the 1.
Exactly, just very confident in his core role when he was playing for Complexity, and then he even had a brief stint with Leviathan, but it seems like this support role set is kind of out of left field. It's not something that's even really high in his pub profile for heroes picked, so it's definitely something that he's getting used to as well. But of course, he wants to be involved in the North American scene with no longer being with Complexity, and the best way to do that, I would say, is just learn how to support extremely well, because that's what the scene is hungry for. But I actually want to talk about wards a little bit here because we do see a really good sentry ward coming out from the Dire for the Radiant Secret Shop camp. That is not only preventing the Tide from jungling with the Iron Talon over there, but it's also that the Chen can't rotate that way and grab the creeps to gank. So he's not able to really go and stop that push up top. He's not able to confront them on that side of the map. They has to stick to bottom, and of course they're just going to look for that bottom tier 1.
Huge value ward there for Power of Friendship, but here comes a response from Digital Chaos now. Bottom lane, they got a nice big girthy army here to work with from Chen, and as he continues to kind of clarity up a bit, he'll get the last hit in. So Owie will grab that. He pushes closer towards what I imagine being his mech, as he currently is sitting on about 1,000 gold. He'll finish out the arcanes. The same moment that Bulba will be able to grab his. And for Bulba, he is level 6 now, so there is a Ravage to play around with. If they're going to look to kind of break the momentum here of Power of Friendship, they do now have a couple of extra tools to work with.
Alrighty, but I'm curious what their next play is, because I feel like they're kind of the ones that are willing to take a defensive stance for this. I would say that the Anti-Mage getting his Battle Fury, while the Ember Spirit is better defensively when he gets his Battle Fury, the Anti-Mage gets to do more on the map when he gets his Battle Fury, just because he has a better mobility tool in Blink compared to the Fire Remnant. So I would feel like they're kind of happy just to have the Ravage always as a reserve spell, where they don't commit it unless the fight is like big. If it's 3+ heroes that he can look for with the Ravage, he'll absolutely go for it. But otherwise, they don't have to necessarily force that and waste that cooldown.
Oop, Ziz spotted the rotation coming in from Theban on the high ground, but they make their move for him instead, and Bulba's here on the front lines. He's waiting with the trigger on the R button here. He's going to pop it off, and it conveniently will actually catch 3 as MJW does rotate him, but here comes Snaking from behind. After they quickly take out Ziz, they are going to get the response, finishing off the Chen now. Bulba locked in place, going to be going for the TP, not going to be able to make it. The Soul Siphon, the Crypt Swarm going to be more than enough to take him down, and now Theban going to be under the gun. He eats his own Soul Siphon. Snaking picks up 2 of those kills, making it a huge profit right now for Power of Friendship.
Yeah, it's actually extremely unfortunate that the Deathpower was able to do so much damage to the Invoker before the fight even began, so that he couldn't get in the fight. He was down to below 200 HP, Ghost Walks, and then he's got a Meteor Deafening, but there's no way that he actually gets involved without just dying immediately. So, although the Ravage is great, the damage that would have come from that is from the Invoker, not anybody else. There's no Witch Doctor Death Ward, the AM is not strong enough, and the Chen Creeps couldn't do anything. So, in that context, like, they needed the Invoker to be there in order for that to be a successful play from Bulba, and unfortunately he was just way too low.
And because of that fight and that swing for Power of Friendship, the net worth advantage that DC were able to accumulate for themselves because of the hungry jungle that Owie got to have with the early assistance to the mid lane. Resolution did so well, and he had the potential because of Chen being able to assist. That's been kind of taken away and brought back into a bit of a stalemate, if not more for the benefit of Power of Friendship here. But now they make their jump for Snaking a bit, and it's only going to be harassing him back. He has the Remnant down, of course, and he'll be able to make it away to safety. And he's getting closer now to those Boots of Travel, which opens up a lot more doors for this Ember Spirit. He's about 400 away. Actually, way less than that. What am I saying? 20 gold away.
Yep, so that's going to enable him to actually get involved in the fights a lot, because the Nature's Prophet will always have the chance to be able to BOT too, so he can start engaging and kind of finding those openings at longer range. His Searing Chains will stop Blink, but I'm actually curious if that will create any kill opportunities against the Anti-Mage this game. Oftentimes, UR will be just avoiding fights altogether, and I don't necessarily see that working, because although you have a couple good stuns from the Tusk, maybe a silence from the Death Prophet, overall you're lacking the lockdown. So I feel like Jawar's just going to keep doing his thing. He'll get his Battle Fury at a pretty good clip, and then he's going to be able to pretty well dominate the map unless they pick up a Hex or an Orchid.
Theban's in big trouble. He's been spotted heading towards the side shop. And he, sure enough, will be caught out on his own and easily taken care of. It looks like Power Friendship will take this time to try to get the lane push forward and finish off this Tier 1. And DC are trying to quick to respond, adding their own pressure now down this mid lane. Owie has an army trucking on in here with 2 big Centaur bad boys and a Satyr. Forge Spirit's coming out. It's a bit of a race here between each Tier 1. But 2 rotations already going to be coming in from Power of Friendship here. Snaking's first on the scene, but way too close. It looks like they're going to be looking to take a fight. Sunstrike will spot it. Shockwave even to soften up Slicks quite a bit, but look at Snaking making his move for resolution. Hand of God has to come out. Bulba gets a big setup with the Ravage right now. Can they finish off the King? Grave is going to be there from Louis. He's going to be able to get the quick save. MJW now the focal between Yawar and Aoi. He's going to be able to make it out from the left wing. He will end up being dropped, though. Bulba, barely alive, edges up to the high ground to make it away, but Slicks has put his sights onto Thievin, who could be going down twice in a row now, and that will be the case. Aoi also very, very weak. Going to be forced to retreat, quickly grabs the Centaur creep. Will try to maybe stun to create the space here, but he has no TP. It's just a long-winded chase where he'll just take his own life under the tower, it would appear, Blaze. But, man, we look over the fight recap, and it's another good Power of Friendship fight, though they did lose Snaking at the start. Oh, no, they didn't. He got the save, that's right. But Way2 will be able to make the move on Bulba. Soul Siphon here. Resolution has to show up to create the space. He commits with his own Sunstrike. He's got some good damage. They pop the wand, but it's not going to be enough. He is able to get the finish, and I guess chalk it up to a bit of a Bulba bait in the end.
Yeah, I guess to an extent. They obviously were kind of overstepping their boundaries at the same time, but good damage out from the Resolution Invoker is able to turn the small skirmish there. But overall, in that big fight, it really comes down to the Grave timing. Like, they were so committed to bringing down that Ember as quickly as possible, and in doing so, they just walked right into just so much damage. Power Friendship, specifically the Death Prophet, she was actually pretty far back. When the Ravage came out, she was practically under the tier 1 tower, trying to get her Arcane Room, and then the Exorcism, and just trying to time everything perfectly. And she got delayed in that. She wasn't able to do damage until the second half of the team fight, but at that point, they'd already exhausted everything on the Ember Spirit, and that Grave just made it completely irrelevant. So DP kind of just got to walk all over them. Great Ice Shards as well from Way2, and Power of Friendship, they take another key engagement. 7-4 the kill score, and surprisingly still, the experience graph favors DC, which means they're farming a lot more efficiently in the lanes and more importantly, the jungle.
Yes, a notch towards Shen for that one, and with it, they come up towards this top lane here, and Bulba will spout things out. No Ravage for him yet, 10 more seconds here. The Power of Friendship now will look to possibly make their approach. This is just Yawar finding a little bit of time for himself to continue to farm up. He's got his Perseverance here. His net worth still falls behind by about 1k towards Snaking on the other side. Bulba will be trapped within the shards. Yawar quick to roll away. Well, Bulba now trapped within the Sprout. He has the Ravage here, but
he doesn't want to use it
use it defensively unless his team's going to be around. They're coming, but they're a bit too far. So that means Bulba will get sniped down with the rotation assistance coming out from PoF.
Yeah, you don't pick a Tidehunter just to kind of panic Ravage whenever you're in a tough spot. Like, you really need to have the turn potential. It's like, I don't know, the cooldown makes it almost as valuable as like a Wraith King Reincarnate level 1 for turning. Like, if you don't have that for 150 seconds, you know Power Friendship are going to exploit you. The Invoker will be the only teamfight potential when Ravage is on cooldown, and Power Friendship could just run down every lane and do so much work across the board. So yeah, overall, I think that's the right call, just to hold on to it and have that Ravage threat, so maybe you can get in on something like this Roshan that's going to be going down from PoF. I'll also make a note that after the drums, Furion started going towards this Orchid, which I think is the key to bringing down the AM, but he's got to get it fast.
Let's see if he's going to be able to do it. Have a big commitment here with the Exorcism. Looks like it's going to turn profit here for Power of Friendship, and Aegis will be given their way, and DC will be none the wiser in the meantime.
Roshan has fallen.
Looks like they're going to be rushing Bulba for his own bit of farm right now, trying to hustle him towards that Blink Dagger as he'll farm his way through a couple of stacks. Aoi building together his fleet, now being able to pick up an extra Centaur under his wing. DC, though, Blaze, can they afford to be kind of on the defensive and passive during this Aegis window, or do they still need to be able to make something happen for themselves to kind of, you know, dictate the pace of this game? I know they have an AM on their team, so they can afford to stall out a bit, but wouldn't it also be a bit unfortunate if Power Friendship were able to get so much with this time?
They're making the right assumption that Slicks doesn't have Exorcism here. They have to say, okay, well, they weren't off the map completely, and it didn't take them that long to take the Roche, so we have to assume that Exorcism's on cooldown. So their push up top implies that they're not threatened by it. But in general, during this Aegis interval, you're still just only going to be able to farm with the AM. Yawar can go and do whatever he wants until the Aegis Prophet finishes Orchid, but everybody else is kind of going to be lacking. Like, everybody else has got to be relatively close. As you can see, there's like 3 heroes farming in the exact same area, and even Chen is inside his own base. Yawar is the only one who's actually able to move as he pleases for this timing window.
Don't want to have to already fall back and put all of your eggs in that AM basket so soon, though. I mean, there's supposed to be a big fighting point here with your Ravage, with your Death Ward that really has not been able to flourish quite yet. And we'll have to see if they're even going to get the opportunity, because Power Friendship are looking ever so mighty. I mean, Slicks now already completes his typical Death Prophet tool belt, if you will, getting the phase and Yules done. So now she can build into some more substance, get some meat on the bones, become a bit more durable. And then you really have a problem on your hands with this Exorcism being able to do so much work. And we'll have to see how much outspam really is going to be there for DC to kind of prevent being shepherded into their
Radiant's top tower
home base.
is under attack.
But no easy pick off here. Snake King is going to be able to quickly drop the
Radiant
remnant. He is getting
structures are
very close
fortified.
to getting that Battle Fury complete, please.
Radiant's
Yeah,
top tower
and I mean,
is
it's not
under
going to
attack.
change much in terms of how they
Radiant's
dominate
top
the
tower
Radiant side of the
has
map,
been
because again,
denied.
it's more defensive than offensive, but it's still going to up his damage output overall, and it means that DC really can't just go for like a pushing play against them as much as they might like to. It's actually going to see Snake King just go right in. He's got a DD rune. Doesn't have any backup at all, but again, the lockdown is just as lacking on the side of DC.
Death
and they're
Ward
going to
was
waste.
committed there as well. They really thought that they were going to be able to lock down Snake, but he gets the slight remnant out. And that will be a minute cooldown. Not the longest timer in the world, but I don't know if Snake King happened to see it and if that's enough of a opportunity for them to make something out of it. And it looks like they may. They smoked already, Blaze, and they are hustling towards the south right now. Let's see if they can make a play happen. If not, just get a couple of wards down. Well, they don't have any wards on hand.
No wards, unfortunately, but I like that Power Friendship are moving like this. They're definitely making the most of this time period where they know that Slicks is not at risk whatsoever. He is unfortunately not level 11. Again, the experience is still pretty decently in DC's court, just because they have been able to benefit from the hand of Midas. They have been able to farm with the Shen, but otherwise, yeah, Slicks, that's just the only thing that he's really lacking at level 11. Like, the item, the Yules is great, but having that second level of the Exorcism is still a pretty big jump up. You're doubling the experience.
Yeah, it looks like they want to reserve it as well. They're not committing it right now for the tower. They're looking to potentially take any sort of fight. While this happens, and Theban is going to be first on scene to defend top lane. They make the move for Snake. It's going to be an early cold snap, but he again will be very slippery in remnanting away. We saw this a lot from their last series against Infamous when he played the same Ember Spirit, and he was just very quick to be able to remnant out of any sort of pickle. And now after taking out the tier 2 Blaze, they're going to be moving forward even more and looking to see if they can force DC all the way back and inside. And that Death Ward is off cooldown now. How long do Power Friendship kind of want to stick around with this? They have the Exorcism now committed. A mighty meatball falls from the sky to kind of clear up the creeps a bit. Resolution now gets some hustle and damage here on the Snake King, but he's going to be able to once again remnant away from trouble. This is Power Friendship trying to make the most out of this push and this Aegis while they still got it, but only some softening up on the tower.
Yeah, that's all they're going to be able to accomplish here. They know the Aegis doesn't have much longer, and more importantly, the Ember just took a pounding, and the Ember's got a very finite health pool. No way to heal him up conveniently here. There are no Urn of Shadows, for example, or they had the Urn, but not the charges, rather. Either way, this is going to give DC a little bit more of a boost. They've got another breath of fresh air where they're going to be moving out on the map. They're going to start getting their wards out. They are now at kind of an even playing field. It comes down to who gets picked off and such, but generally speaking, with the Blink Dagger on the Tide, the Force Staff on the Invoker, DC have more means of getting in a better position to make the plays happen.
And with the sound of that ugly horn, that means the Aegis is now expired. DC will be counting out their timers here. Know that that's the case. They're maybe going to make a move towards this mid lane. They're looking to maybe get some tier 1 economy coming their way, but Snake King begins to dish out that new Battle Fury Sleight of Fist, and the response is already going to be the mech to try to heal the lane, but they keep coming, man, and they're hurting quite a bit. The spam here from Power Friendship is pretty damn good, and even the Cryptstorm is going to be flying into plenty. Resolution sent back to base. Going to be able to make it away from trouble. As Way 2 moves in, is going to be able to get the catch on the Owie with the Walrus Punch. It cancels out the TP. A jump in for Bulba as he will commit the Ravage. And here comes the Chaos Meteor. It will annihilate Way 2. MJW now going to be eating a lot of damage from the Death Ward coming out from Theban, and it's going to be possibly enough to get him down. No, but Snake King does walk into the path of fire. Oh, nice slide. Does dodge the anchor smash, but it's not going to dodge the stun from the Centaur, and they'll be able to take him down. 2 fall there from Power of Friendship. It looks like DC, after repositioning, will only lose their Chen, and they'll be able to follow up with maybe finishing off this tier 1. But Power of Friendship, man, they're not done yet. Here comes MJW. TP's in, going to be able to get off the Sprout and the new Orchid. Soul Siphon there, but it's not nearly enough. Yawar's going to be able to bounce back, and, well, it's helpful that Theban was able to get off the paralyzing cask. It does certainly disengage Power of Friendship a bit.
Power of Friendship will still get the deny on the tier 1 tower, but that was a really good read from Maui of how long to hold on to the Hand of God. A lot of Chen players would have exhausted the Hand of God a lot sooner. When you have 2 Centaurs at 10% HP, and you have 2 or 3 heroes that would benefit from the Hand of God, you're like, tempted, hey, let's just use it. But he wanted to bait them further, so he's the one that gets punished pretty heavily, but he still gets the Hand of God off at the same time as the Ravage. The Ember Spirit has to dive behind the tier 2. He kind of goes from a flanking position and dives to actually hit up the Chen, and that actually sets up the anti-mage to move in and mana burn him before he can use a Remnant. The Remnant expires, and suddenly the Ember is free pickings, which is unlikely in this game,
oh,
but
no.
they finally got
They've
it.
spotted Resolution. As he moves up there, though, he has the vision. He hits him with a shot and quickly tries to force away from trouble, but they are on the move. Even MJW looking to cut him off with a tower. Teleport, and, okay, jump in from Bulba. Going to get a big anchor smash. They are able to grab Resolution, but a Ravage is going to lock them down, and they'll quickly lose their Nature's Prophet. Now they look to retreat and make it away. Yawar gets some little jabs here on the Death Prophet. They're going to try to kite him. He's able to Manta off, though, the chains. Now the snowball in from Wei 2 and a Soul Siphon. He's able to step away with the blink. Bulba pops in, gets the gush off, and now, oh man, absolute destruction as the Exorcism and Slight are able to just absolutely do work on DC. Yawar now is going to be forced to make it down south and away from trouble as Bulba goes north. This time the swing around going to be going the direction of Power of Friendship.
Yeah, so they do get the better of that, but it could have been a lot worse for DC if Yawar hadn't picked up his Manta at the perfect timing here. He essentially got the Manta at the same time the Nature's Prophet got the Orchid, as a result of him ending the Ember's killing spree for 500 gold. So gets it at the perfect time, is able to use it to get out of trouble. Almost actually gets the Dazzle, because they had the Observer Ward. He almost Mana Void canceled the Dazzle's TP when he Grave TP'd, and then Yawar would have gotten another kill out of that. Still does end up dropping the Mana Void on a good target, the Death Prophet, but because everybody but him and Bulba were dead, there's really no follow-through. So all in all, still great for Power Friendship, but Yawar as a hero is now in a state that he is just almost impossible to deal with. With the Manta style, like I said, the Orca was kind of a race against the Manta style, and it was a gambit that the Nature's Prophet could get the item before it became nearly irrelevant, thanks to Yawar's purchase. And now Yawar is going to be able to move once again freely. It's just going to make it very difficult for Power Friendship to shut him down and to even push out the lanes, because as you can see, they've taken 2 tier 2 towers, but getting to the high ground, breaking the backup protection, most likely requires the death of the anti-mage.
Now, do we think there's something that possibly MJW on his Nature's Prophet can do to respond to that? It looks like he's building up into an Agnum Scepter as he already has the point booster here. That mighty Nature's Wrath could help a bit in being able to kind of keep the lanes at bay, Blaze. Is that going to offer any sort of potency to kind of, bounce back that game plan of DC?
I mean, that definitely will allow them to, push in harder on the 2 lanes that Yawar's not at. He can't be everywhere at once, so they can kind of make use of that. Along with that, I like the Wrath of Nature Ags against the Chen, because he's going to bring in a few extra creeps in the middle of the fight, which will just be converted to treants if they die within that 4-second timer. So overall, it's just a pretty strong pickup. It's going to do more frustrating things, but personally, I like Blink and Hex on the Nature's Prophet here because, again, it really comes down to just shutting down this anti-mage.
He's now going to continue moving through these side lanes a bit and then finding little trees to kind of hide out in. But now as he steps out, him and Snay will cross paths, and Yawar will try to make a jump. And Snay wants none of that business, so he quickly retreats out, and Yawar will continue to take his place in this top lane and continue to be a nuisance here for Power of Friendship, at least until Power of Friendship have that Nature's Prophet to kind of reflect back that pain-in-the-ass feeling here. But in the meantime, we look back towards the farm here. Look at this. Bulba is building up into the Agnum Scepter on his Tidehunter, going the Blastoise build, if you will. The Mighty Gush going to be online soon, it looks like, for Blaze. This is great.
Yeah, extremely powerful at all stages of the
Dire's
game.
top
It
tower
is
is
going to be
under
really
attack.
good in terms of counter pushing. It's going to be very difficult for Power Friendship to really hit the high ground when that's going to be spammed out every 12 seconds. It's just overall strong. Like, you think of it, it's the AC negative armor factor with the short duration slow and uh, just a little bit of magic damage on top. It's just a lot of things hitting at once and spammed out very frequently. So we are going to be seeing the max Roshan timer finally come through, so both sides will be aware this Rosh is up, but it's going to be DC to make their move. They're the ones smoking. They were kind of trying to get involved in the UR versus Snake King matchup up top, turning that into like a 4v1 instead of a 1v1, but here we see that they are just kind of looking for anything at this point.
They could find Snake King here. They'll flank him from both sides, and they quickly jump, but he slides away from the Ravage, and we'll have none of it. Ravage down. Power Friendship have already made their move into the Roche pit. Now they don't have to worry about that. They can grab this Aegis, and they can make something out of it in this window.
Yeah, I mean, tier 2 down, and they're going to push top, but still, Roche goes down so quickly as they've committed the Exorcism, and Aegis on Select. The question is now, which is more important, the Ravage or the Exorcism? We're going to see a bit of a base break kind of situation dissolve very quickly as everybody's going bottom to deal with Snake, who's actually got his last Remnant, but that last one will be plenty to get him out.
We'll hustle back, and yeah, for the Exorcism versus Ravage, it's pretty much an identical cooldown. And for Power Friendship, maybe they feel they still offer enough in a team fight outside of the Exorcism, but without Snake King kind of being maybe at that next level, I don't know if it's going to be that easy here. It looks like in the meantime he's been able to pick up the ultimate orb here, so is this going to be for a defensive Lincoln's grab, or is it building and bulking up with stats and grabbing something like a Scotty, you think?
Well, he actually just picked up the Scotty, so your question is answered.
Okay. Well, he did take it to the next level then. He's got a Scotty. I thought he was the one getting bullied back a bit from this AM, but he was able to throw that together. He still does fall slightly behind Yawar, who just gets over that 16K net worth mark. He has been holding onto his money a bit at 2.4, but hey, Snake King is still kind of measuring up against him.
So yeah, just good raw HP makes it very difficult for DC to be able to pin him down. The Invoker does have a Hex, so it's definitely possible, but it's just all the more difficult. And of course, Scotty's a more offensive item because you get to go in, your slights will slow, and that'll set up the Death Prophet to just be right on top of people, and that's going to be very powerful. So I like the animal pickup overall. Obviously, it's not a crit, so it's more stable, but it's less high potential. But overall, I think this is a really strong pickup that's going to allow Snake King to do some work in the fights.
Smoked up is DC, looking to kind of hide their identity inside their own base if they want to make some sort of huge flank movement here. But Resolution's going to be first spotted, and he'll be forced to force up into the safety of his base. Tier 3 now going to be down, and there's the first gush flying out here from Bulba in the game. Snaking his board, but he gets hexed on up and absolutely controlled. But they're going to be able to save him with the Grave, and he's able to Remnant out from trouble. Good grab right there from Ziz, and now comes the jump from Bulba. Gets a big Ravage between the two. The blink out is going to be saving the third, but they're not going to be able to get the finish quite yet. Rolling in, Blade 2 gets a defensive save on for Slicks, but eventually he will have to use that first life of the Aegis here. Will Power Friendship stick around for this one? They might need to help out Slicks here. Lamar commits in, but he has no more Mana Void to work with now. And it looks like
he's got
slowly
another
Power
gush
Friendship
coming up
will be
too.
stepping out. Moves
It's so
in.
hard to get away from this.
He's got another gush, and it's going to slow them all down. Resolution lines up the shot with a mini little tornado, which will happen to catch way to. Now looking to stall out, gets the snowball to make the move. Snake King back for the base now as he remnants back into the action, but he's getting locked down and focused, and he's going to get dropped out for 70 seconds. No buyback for him, and they're going to get the follow-up here, taking out Slicks. Digital Chaos secure a double kill now for Yawar, and they're going to be able to get the kill, it looks like, potentially onto Slicks after they muscle their way through that pesky little Grave. It looks like a gem will be handed over as well. And the game, though, tied up 12-2, or 12-12. It does not tell the full story. This game has just been opened up all the way for Digital Chaos.
Yeah, with Ziz going down, making 4, we're going to be seeing a massive gold swing going to Digital Chaos. They're going to be the ones that are now dominating the map. And I think the fight really comes down to one thing. Death Prophet used her Exorcism on her first life. They nuke her down, and her second life doesn't matter that much. She's got Spirit Siphon, she's got a lot of Crypt Swarm. It's only a 3.75 second cooldown for the Octarine. But it just doesn't mean enough without the Exorcism. As soon as that first life of the Death Prophet went down, I felt like Power Friendship were their play was to disengage. That fight was over for them, and they needed to accept that. But they didn't want to. They said, okay, staking, BOT back to the fountain, keep your remnant up here, rejuice and regoose, and they'll try to turn it back around. And while they fought heartily,
Dire's bottom
they
tower is under
would have been
attack.
better not fighting at all. The Grave was good on the Ember. Losing the Aegis and losing that opportunity is a lot better than losing 4 heroes.
And now, after Power of Friendship have had pretty much the wind knocked right out of them, we'll have to see what the response play is going to be. It's not really one of those games when you could just try to, win on the back of just Snake King alone. They need to be able to still get a lot out of the others, and I don't know if that means ramping up the split push nature of this Prophet a bit. He's got the Agnums now, and he's building up towards what I assume being the first bits of an Octarine core. This will help stall things out quite a bit, but, DC have a lineup that can also play with the clock, too. It looks like Yawar's been able to pick up the Basher, and he already has 3.5k. His net worth advantage over Snake King just certainly went up by a good amount. He's nearly 20k right now at top of the charts. Resolution now is second highest here, so you can see all the rewards for DC after that big fight.
Definitely. I might have missed something in that little bit there. Who's building Octarine Core?
I was saying potentially to build up into the likes of an Octarine Core from MJW. The Snake King is caught out. This time the Ravage will not be spotted or not be slighted, and Resolution and Bulba will be able to get the big kill. That's 70 seconds of no buyback. DC happy to spend the Ravage to take the Ember off the playing field. Now come hustling down this mid lane.
All right, this is a really big deal. They know that there's no significant high ground defense. There's the Wrath of Nature in 35 seconds. There's a lot of Crypt Swarm now, but in general, that Ravage seals the deal. And the big difference was there was between the 2 different attempts. This time they had Ward Vision, so they knew when his spells were on cooldown. They knew the perfect time to go in, and they knew how to jump right on top of him for the maximum surprise factor. The last time it was kind of a guess out of smoke. This time it was a sure thing, and now they go in, they take the tier 3 tower, and it's going to be really hard for Power Friendship to do anything but trade bottom lane.
Tier 3 down, Yawar, after clearing out the wave, goes right to work for the melee Rax, and it's soon to drop here. They'll be satisfied with the 1 Rax takedown, and they will quickly walk away with their even bigger advantage. Plus, it doesn't help that MJW does continue to kind of trickle in this bottom lane. He's able to get that tier 3 all the way down, and even 1 Rax below half-life at this point. So Nature's Prophet still like dancing with him a bit, but he actually going to be going for an ultimate orb there, Blaze. I was wrong, not Octarine Core for him. It looks like a Sheepstick is going to have to be the grab to be able to get that catch potential for the AM.
All right, so yeah, I mean, that's what I was kind of looking for before, the Blink Hex, because even him going into the Orchid after Drum seemed a little bit off to me, because while he was at that point on a trajectory to pick up the Orchid on time, Yawar just needed like a 500 gold boost, and then he was equal in the timing. So it was too narrow of a window in my mind for the Orchid to be really that relevant this game. Maybe you just like throw an Orchid on the Tide or the Invoker casually and just take them out of the fight for a short period. But as far as actually getting kills with that Orchid, it's slim. It's just not going to be that big of a contributing factor. So I didn't feel the Orchid after the Drums was going to be as potent, and after it goes into the Aghanim's and now back for the Hex, it's just it feels like the build's all over the place. He wants to be involved in the fights, but he also wants to push and farm, and yeah, it's just a lot of things at once. So, like I said, I think the Blink Hex would have been a little bit more streamlined, but he's got at least a lot of right-click damage, and he does have the potential to contribute as long as he's really precise with his Orchid usage.
Now we're going to be seeing Digital Chaos happy to dictate the pace of where this game goes. It's very apparent that they will be moving mostly as a group here. And with that buddy-buddy system, I'm really going to be content on taking whatever fight crosses their path. And Power of Friendship, looking over their vision, they are a bit in the dark as far as where they can go in their own territory. Only getting that bit of extra vision space for that bottom lane so that they can continue to try to pull DC at least back to their home turf and away from pushing into, Power Friendship side. So MJW gets some good work in. 2.3k is on hold for him, and he'll quickly hustle back, and DC will just continue to try their best to balance out these lanes for their favor.
Noting one thing about this Agate and Scepter pickup for the Tidehunter a while back that it hasn't really come to mind. I always think about like what it actually offers to teamfight because Tide is a teamfight hero, but it's actually pretty good for him just like splitting and farming. Like all these Nature's Prophet treants are closing in on a single lane. He just gushes and anchor smashes them and takes them down to like barely any HP. It's actually really impressive just for actually allowing him to just push out the lanes and do his own thing.
He definitely has the mana pull forward here with the Shivas now being picked up and having near 1,700 of mana to work with. He can spam out those gushes for those necessary, deep pushes here. He doesn't know actually how close he was there to Power of Friendship from getting potentially cut off, but he narrowly will escape any sort of threat and get back towards his team's side. And after Power of Friendship do push down the bottom lane a bit, Roche is going to be waiting for them here, and they'll go in and go right to work. I don't imagine Power of Friendship are going to be contesting. Instead, MJW begins to make his work onto the northern front of DC's base. And looking to be quick to cut them off. All the meanwhile here, Wei2 goes up to the high ground. He does roll into the pit itself, but it's too late to make any sort of Aegis snatch. It's already been picked up from Resolution. So look at that quick kill, taking down the Tusk, and be quick to kind of make it out from trouble. No cancel of TPs is going to be there, and MJW, once he sees that they have disengaged from the pit, he will also be stepping out.
I mean, again, it's just like he's doing things that the build doesn't suit for. Like he doesn't have a Desolator, he doesn't have really quick potential to break down the tier 3 tower, so he gets a little bit of chip damage in, but they're just not able to force any judges. Ziz actually gets Abyssal, dead Dazzle. Gets even more confidence if they want to just keep going with it. They've got Aegis, they've got Ravage, they just had picked up the Shivas. They have so much working for them, and the Invoker can BOT.
Poor little Dazzle, I didn't even get to see his unfortunate demise, but obviously
he got Abyssal, he got right-clicked a lot. That's pretty much how that went down.
Trying to get out to, I assume, D-ward a bit on that high ground, but nowhere is safe clearly as Sharks are in the water. Here comes Digital Chaos down to the high ground. They'll get that tier 3 down. Hand of God, thank you, Firefox, is going to be coming out to get him all healed up and ripe and ready. And that's going to be another melee racks down. MJW continues to move in from that top lane, but really will not be leading to a whole lot of success. It's looking more and more apparent that DC are going to be able to get everything they want and take game number 1. Yes, Wei2 does slow down the pressure a bit with a good snowball save, but there is a Ravage waiting for them. But Snake King, slippery as ever, looking to make it back out. Slicks, though, not so slippery. He will be caught out, taken down. The Death We're going to be helping with that, and that will be the game. Game number 1 of this semi-final match is going to be going the way of Digital Chaos.
And, I mean, some really good shallow graves. Obviously, we just saw a tremendous snowball, but in the end, they just couldn't do enough to keep the cores alive when it counted. Like, the bigger engagements, the Death Prophet went down a little bit too quickly, or the Emperor's Spirit just couldn't keep his health up so that he could keep sliding and keep fighting. And the Nature's Prophet never actually got his build finished. Like, he had a couple of items that helped, but they didn't like definitively accomplish one specific goal. And as a result, MJW's contribution to the map was a little bit master of all trade, or sorry, jack of all trades, master of none. He just wasn't able to really accomplish his goals in this game. Whereas DC, they got their Tide online, they got the Anti-Mage massively farmed without really any way to contest him. And then once that next tier, that next level of items came out for DC, after a couple of amazing fights from them, they were able to just kind of ride this one out to victory. So really well played from DC. Power Friendships are going to have to show us something new for game number 2.
Let's see if they can show us what they got as we do move forward into game number 2. We'll cut to a small break. This is KotLGuy bringing you the cast. I'm going to be joined again by Blaze. We'll see you in just a few moments for this semifinal matchup, game 2 of Digital Chaos versus Power of Friendship.